Good afternoon. I'm Jake Irvin, and I just started changing out the belts on my '89 Dodge D100, short box truck, 318, two-wheel drive, pretty straightforward stuff. And I got the first belt off, and I was thinking, maybe it'd help if, I shared what I'm learning so far with people that might want to watch. So, here I have the belts that are going to go back on. We have the back two, which are going to go for your crank, your alternator, and your AC pump, both of them. Make sure 7612. And then we have power steering pump, fan, and crank. And then there is your air pump, fan, and crank. Now, I've heard people say that you don't really need this one, but I'm not trying to upset the computer, so I'm going to do everything as I'm supposed to. First things first, you'll see where this one was, and then behind it immediately is the power steering pump belt, and then beyond that are these two, which is your AC alternator, and they wrap down there in the bottom around the crank. So first thing was to get the air pump belt off, and I took a 15mm ratchet and socket, 15mm wrench, and there's a bolt on the front side of this bracket here, and there is a nut on the back side, if you could see it down in there. I put the ratchet on this end and put the wrench on this end to hold it in place. You want to loosen that up by a quarter turn. That's just going to give you the slack to give you the leeway to get this loose. Now you'll see I have my breaker bar with my 1/2 inch chuck in the bracket itself, and there's another 15-inch bolt down there underneath it. You want to loosen that, same thing, just a quarter turn so you have it loose enough, and you just push down and it'll loosen up the belt. Then you fish it out, wrap it out around the fan, and you're on to the next one. Okay, the next one being your power steering pump. Goes again around the fan, down around the crank, and then to your power steering pump. Now you'll see the same 1/2 inch chuck there. So you want to loosen up the bracket, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute when I get down there. So for the power steering pump, definitely needed two hands to do this, so I put the camera down for a minute, but basically what you got to work with is down here, right on the other side of this bracket here, there is a bolt in there that needs to be loosened up, and on the opposite side of the pulley spline, there is another bolt that you need to loosen. That's for the bracket. You need to get both of those so the power steering pump will swivel. It's not doing so well with bare hands. Then you work the belt off, and then the same story with working it out from around everything and around the fan and get it out. So we move over to the last two. It's your AC pump, alternator. It goes down around the crank. So this is real simple, just one nut here, loosen that just a little, and then you have your tensioner, let the tension off it, and these should work off pretty easy. Then you're ready to go back on. Right, so started putting the belts back on now, and the next thing you want to start checking is your belt deflection. Now as I've tightened this up, it's going to go a little bit more, but I mean the manual will tell you how to do it a certain way. I think the best way to do it is get a straight edge, lean across here, and if the distance between each pulley is 7 to 11 inches, you should have about a 1/4 inch of deflection, which I might be a little bit off there, so I'll tighten down just a little bit. If it's greater than 12 inches, like say if I was measuring down here, your deflection should be a 1/2 inch. So I mean, looking at this, it's almost about right. I'm gonna grab this phone call and get these right. Be right back. All right, so I have secured the two AC alternator crank belts. I made sure everything was tight and made sure the deflection was right, and I went ahead and put on the power steering belt. The first thing you want to do when you get ready to tension this thing is this bolt here for your bracket, and make sure the eye of the pulley lines up. You got to tweak it and turn it just a little bit, just so you can get in there with your ratchet when you get this torqued down, because this is the fun part. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull down on my breaker bar that is into the bracket here to get the tension that I need on the pulley, while at the same time I'm going to take my handy dandy ratchet here and I'm going to tighten down the bracket. Now again, two hands to do this, so I'll be right back. Alright, I went ahead and tightened it down just a little bit more. Again, you want that deflection. I don't know if the videos I'll say it, but you want it to be tight. I mean obviously not too tight, because you gotta, you don't want to overstress any of the components down there, and also you don't want to run through your belt too quick. But the now that that's done, it's important to make sure you get back underneath and tighten down the other bolt. I found it easier just to get underneath the truck and you go from there. So after I get that done, we'll move on to the air pump and we'll be out of here. The power steering belt is on, it's tight, it's good, I'm happy with it. So now I went ahead and did the air pump belt. Same story here. You got the 1/2 inch, which actually for this one, I'm gonna feed it in through this side because I need access to that belt. The same story, pull up for this one, and then while it's tight, you reach down there with your ratchet, zap that guy down real fast. But you'll see, you need it to kind of get up there like so. So I'm gonna do that and tighten the bracket, and friends and neighbors, we're gonna be done. All 4 of them are on there now. Got appropriate deflection. Not too tight, not too loose. Should be good. Now the most important part of this or any task is when you're finished, make sure you have gotten everything out of the way. Not leaving any tools behind, not leaving any of those belts laying on. My tools are right there. We're good. Oh, and I guess while we're on the subject, I did all of this. A breaker bar with a 1/2 inch bit, ratchet, 15mm socket, 15mm wrench, and for the alternator, what I had to use, there goes my phone again, a size 13 wrench right here and a size 13 socket. So by this time your tools are put away, you made sure there's nothing else in the engine bay, everything's cleaned up behind yourself. So the most satisfying part is get to see if it actually works. It's funny that I finished this up right in time for the rain to come in, so no joy riding today. No more squeaking. Hope this has been helpful. It's been a fun way to turn a 2-hour process into maybe 3.5 with all the videoing and all. So follow me for more recipes. Like and subscribe if you found this helpful, or feel free to leave a comment if you feel like I'm messing something up. We'll see you on the next one.